Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of BSSN Wrestling. My name is Blake Wright, and joining me today, I like to call him Mocha Latte, but other people like to call him Brian Armand. But Brian, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good, my brother Blake, aka Vanilla Chai. How's it going out there in Indy tonight?
Man, I'll tell you what, like today's weather sucked. Very, very rainy, very, very cold. We're supposed to get a big snowstorm, so that one should be interesting. And I know your lucky ass is all the way out in western Arizona, so it's probably pretty hot there, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, it was sunshine and rainbows today, man.
Man, if only we could get a little sunshine during the winter months here in Indiana. But you know what? It's cool. But anyway, guys, this is our very, very first ever podcast that's going to be done on YouTube. So if you like what you're hearing, and you want to hear more, we have, I believe, 12 other podcasts that's available on our website, which is bssn.weebly.com. All you have to do is go underneath the podcast section, and we have all the links to our other podcasts. And also, YouTube is the official home for BSSN. Every single podcast is going to be published here on YouTube, so be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit it with the like, and then comment it up. Let's get as many comments in there as we possibly can. So pretty much today's episode is going to be a WWE 2015 year in review. Brian, I think you can agree with me, man. Like, it's been a crazy, crazy year for the WWE.
Oh yeah, definitely. Tons of stuff going on.
Yeah, like,
2015 leading up to what should be a great 2016.
yeah, absolutely. And let's go ahead and talk about BSSN's future in 2016. We already talked about YouTube, but let's talk about the special guest that we have booked. Pretty much this upcoming Thursday, we're going to have Teddy Long. The week after that, we're going to have the Boogeyman. And then the week after the Boogeyman, so in 3 weeks, we're going to have Jake the Snake Roberts. So we pretty much have a lot of big guests coming on. We're in the process of talking to some other people. So BSSM, we're going to get a lot of wrestling legends on here, guys. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. So let's go ahead and talk about the WWE this past year. A lot of crazy stuff has happened. It's been very, very crazy. Daniel Bryan won another championship only to once again be stopped, but not by another WWE superstar, but by his own body. We can talk about Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins went from being the future to the present in a single night when he cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, and then he ended up getting hurt. The dead man rose from the depths of hell to only be beaten back by a beast again by the name of Brock Lesnar. WWE fans, they hated Roman Reigns when he won the Royal Rumble. They even booed him out of the building when The Rock was celebrating him in the middle of the ring, which, that just shows. But now he's the number one face in the WWE, and people love him. Also, unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to two of the industry's icons, and Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Piper, while the next generation of WWE superstars groomed in their image and took center stage. So let's go ahead and get started in the crazy year of WWE 2015. We're going to start out with the best feud of 2015. There were a lot of memorable feuds out there. There was John Cena versus Kevin Owens. There was Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns. There was Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. There was Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. There was Seth Rollins versus Sting. Some really, really crazy stuff. Seth Rollins pretty much against the world in 2015, it seemed like. Also, you had the Brock Lesnar and Undertaker feud. So it was absolutely, positively a wild year. So it's tough to pick, in my mind, a feud of the year. But if I had to go with one, I'm going to say Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. Now, let me tell you why. Their matches were hardcore. It didn't seem like a wrestling match. It seemed like a straight-up fight. And every single one of their matches were the main events of the card. It's a feud that's been going on for a very, very long time. It all started in my mind at WrestleMania at WrestleMania in New Orleans when the Brock Lesnar broke the streak and it's been going on and on. You got Paul Heyman in there, the great matches, and you have two future Hall of Famers duking it out. So in my mind, the feud of the year for me was Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. Brian, who was your feud of the year?
Let's see. Brock and Seth, definitely good, but I'm going to have to go with Kevin Owens and John Cena. For me, that was probably one of the best feuds, just from, Kevin Owens coming up from NXT, still holding the NXT championship while he came up, and then defeating John Cena on his very first night when he came up to take the title away. That to me was the start of a beautiful feud, and one that I'm sure is to probably heat up again at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Because whenever John Cena comes back from his shoulder surgery, Kevin Owens is probably going to be one of the top guys in the WWE. And I honestly wouldn't mind seeing it. Their match at Money in the Bank was, no pun intended, absolutely freaking money. I was kind of bummed out though that Cena kind of ended up, beating him twice and Kevin Owens only beat him once. Like, I think if they really wanted to make Kevin Owens a star, they could have done it by making him win pretty much the series. Because pretty much the scoreboard reads 2-1. John Cena. I think it should be the other way around. I think WWE, if they booked it right, I think it should have been 2-1 Kevin Owens. You know what I mean? That's at least what I think. But the future's looking bright for Kevin Owens, but the future for John Cena, man, not so much. He completely tore his rotator's cuff. That's 6 to 9 months, and he's a 38-year-old guy. So, we have to wonder, how exactly is he going to come back from this? Brian?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I was even surprised to see, even though he didn't have any big involvement, I was surprised to see him on SmackDown.
Yeah, I was too, because he's had that shoulder injury. I think it happened. I'm assuming during his match Monday night against Alberto Del Rio.
Right, definitely. Yeah, but he came out there, and I think he needed to come out on SmackDown, move to a new network. He opened up the show, came out. The guy's got so much intensity. It was a way to kick it off, and then to have Alberto Del Rio come out and Kalisto, and him to have Kalisto's back, and then that match was what I thought was a good way to kick off SmackDown as well.
Yeah, and Kalisto ended up picking up that win. And I read online, according to Wrestling Inc., it looks now that Cena's hurt, they're going to have Kalisto and Alberto Del Rio have a match at the Royal Rumble for the United States Championship. So that's the new program, and I kind of like it. You know what I mean? You have two luchadors battling out. It should be good matches. Alberto Del Rio's amazing, and Kalisto is also amazing. So I can't wait to see more of those matches, because I love that match on SmackDown. And speaking of SmackDown, I freaking love that new commentator. And on top of it, the heel king that I grew up loving is back. He's kind of that heelish commentator, which is absolutely phenomenal. How do you feel, Brian, about, SmackDown in general? In the beginning of 2015, it sucked, but WWE, ever since the new calendar year hit, it's they're booking SmackDown like a legitimate show now.
Yeah, definitely. I think they definitely noticed probably a little ratings drop, things like that with the show, moved it to a new network. Like you said, they got a new commentator who definitely was solid. He brings a good voice presence and all that kind of stuff, and then you got the King. Everybody loves the King on the mic, so that's good. But making good matches to kick off the new year, and like I said, I think it's only going to get better and better from here on out. So hopefully SmackDown will get back on the map.
Yeah, because I'm worried that they're only going to do this for a month or two, and then they're kind of just going to forget about it. So I hope they make it more interesting, because people want to watch a lot of wrestling. You know what I mean? Fans like you and me, Brian. We want to sit down and we want to watch as much wrestling as possible. But in 2015, honestly, the only things I watched were Raw, NXT, and the pay-per-views. I never tuned into a single episode of SmackDown the entire year. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say that at the end of 2016. I want to say that I watch Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. You know what I mean? I want to, become more of a avid WWE fan. I think I've actually watched more TNA episodes in the past 3 years than I have SmackDown episodes. And that, makes me cringe as I say it, because it's freaking TNA.
Yeah, definitely. I hear coming from there, 2015. That's all you had to do was watch NXT. You watch Raw. Raw would catch you up with what happened from the highlights on SmackDown. So you didn't even care to tune in. You had the pay-per-views. So not only that, I think SmackDown needs to get their stuff together for the fans that are in attendance there. So that's the other big thing is, you got loyal WWE fans that are coming to the venue, paying a lot of money for tickets, packing out arenas. You got to give them a good show. So you got to hype it up. You got to fire it up just like you do Raw so that you keep butts in the seats and you keep the fans happy.
Yeah, and absolutely, because like Jeremy, who's an anchor on BSSN, the people don't know him, but my boy Mocha Latte knows him. He actually went to SmackDown and he told me how many empty seats there were, and I was kind of amazed. You know what I mean? Because that's a WWE event. Like people should be excited about it, but people know that hey, nothing really exciting happens on SmackDown. Like that's kind of the reason why I didn't go when it came into Indianapolis. I was like, nope, you cannot. I was like, you couldn't pay me to go to that event just because I know how boring it'll be. You know what I mean? So that's exactly why I didn't go. Like Jeremy even had an extra ticket. I was like, dude, I don't want to go. Like just take your brother. And he ended up taking his brother. Like I didn't end up going. Like, I'll go to Raw. Like I'm gonna be going to NXT when it comes later on in the month. Really looking forward to that. But it's just like SmackDown is just it's getting better, but it used to be just the worst show. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, speaking of the worst, let's talk about the worst feud of 2015. And I think a lot of people are going to agree on this one. But I'm going to go ahead and just talk about how terrible Dolph Ziggler and Rusev was. From start to finish, the feud was just awful. And, what separated it from the rest of the bad feuds out there that was going on is how long I think it dragged on. At the very beginning, Rusev was injured, which, kind of, hurt its growth. And then Lana and Ziggler, they didn't have the right chemistry together. It looked awful. Every single time Lana kissed him, like, you could tell that, like, she was regretting it because she was cheating on her her now fiance, Rusev. And then when, Rusev came back, they're like, we're going to give her Summer Rae. And Summer Rae and Rusev didn't have any chemistry either. The matches were awful. They didn't have any in-ring chemistry, and then, they tried, eventually, WWE, they tried to be like TMZ when they did like a TMZ style promo, and then, ironically, when I say that, TMZ completely killed the WWE feud when they talked about, the leaked info about Lana and Rusev getting engaged, and it just completely ended. No one benefited from it. It made Dolph Ziggler look bad. It made Summer Rae look bad. It made Rusev look bad. It made pretty much everyone involved in that look awful just because of how poorly it was constructed. And on top of it, Lana's got some nuclear freaking heat backstage from Vince because she posted the picture on Instagram and she even went out of her way to tell TMZ about it, to end it. And, it just completely broke kayfabe. It completely broke every single backstage rule in the WWE. So in my mind, easily Ziggler and Rusev's feud was the worst of 2015. Brian, what's your worst feud of 2015? Do you agree, or do you have another feud that you think is worse than that?
I mean, definitely, yeah. Dolph Ziggler and Rusev didn't make much sense going into it. So I agree with everything you said. Like, them trying to do that whole thing with Lana and bringing in Summer Rae and all that kind of stuff. I think the fans got really, really tired of it really quick.
They just, in my mind, like with the whole entire thing, is like they just tried to force it. And in my mind, the best feuds, they kind of just happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Definitely.
Yeah, and it's just terrible to watch. And you just gotta let them, transpire naturally. You can't try to force people to be someone they're not. You can't tell, Lana, who is absolutely in love with Rusev and has for years, to say, hey, you know what? We want you to be Dolph Ziggler's girlfriend, and we want you guys not just to kiss. We want you guys to make out. You know what I mean? Because they were making out whenever they did that thing to kind of make Rusev mad, and it just looked so freaking bad. And I'm actually, kind of glad that, TMZ broke the news, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, that means this feud is going to end. Thank God. And now, like, look how bad it is for Dolph Ziggler. Like, the guy just lost to Heath Slater on Raw, one, two,
Yeah,
three. Like, that is how bad it is. Rusev's pretty much an afterthought in the League of Nations. Lana hasn't been on Raw as of late. And Summer Rae's with Tyler Breeze, and Tyler Breeze isn't even featured on the dang show. So, like, pretty much that was a career killer for everyone involved in that program. Do you agree with me on that
yeah.
one?
Oh yeah, definitely. And going back and thinking about outside of the Dolph Ziggler and Rusev, I'd probably say my next one that I didn't like the whole thing was probably Stardust and Goldust. That has
Yes.
to that has to rank on the list for me, man. I was just I love when Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes. I
Yeah.
think he has great in ring presence. His skills are off the chart, just like any other professional athlete in the WWE. And to make him transition into that kind of character and all that stuff that happened between him and Goldust, it was just something that they could have done without. And Cody Rhodes' character could have been so much better. Could have got a better push, I think, in my mind, than going through that whole thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They could have saved this program easily, in my mind, and very, very easily. Pretty much, you take off that stupid ass paint and you make him stop doing that weird ass thing that he does, that that noise that he does, and just
Yeah,
let Cody Rhodes be Cody Rhodes, like you said. Like, I think even when Stardust came back to the WWE and Cody Rhodes is still Cody Rhodes, people are like, "Ooh, we want to see Cody Rhodes versus Goldust." Like, that would be, it wouldn't be a main event match by any means, but that would be a solid mid card match that you could put on any pay per view. Like, you can even put it on WrestleMania and people be like, "Oh, that's awesome." Why? Because it's two brothers facing for each other. Like, that just has, drama written all over it. Maybe, and I believe Dusty was still alive around this program. Maybe have Dusty be the special guest referee, and then you have controversy. Like, oh my gosh, how is he going to do it? Like, is he going to be able to count to three? You know what I mean? Like, do you agree with me, Brian? Like, that would have made it a lot better. Do you agree or disagree?
oh yeah, that would have been totally better than the way that they had the pay per view at Fastlane. I mean, it should have been that kind of story. Goldust versus Cody Rhodes, his brother. Like you said, Dusty Rhodes was still there, maybe special guest, referee, and it would have just been way better than that Fastlane. I mean, I don't even remember watching that match during Fastlane because it was so slow. It was like, Goldust was like, "Oh, I don't want to hurt my little brother." It's like, the Bella Twins when they fought against each other was more electric than Goldust and Stardust trying to fight each other.
Yeah, and that's another feud I want to talk about. The Bella twins, Nikki turning on Brie, that was awful. That was so bad in my mind. Like, I had such higher expectations for it, but I just think in my mind it kind of failed miserably because no one wanted to believe it. Because pretty much, on Total Divas, which completely kills kayfabe, you see that nothing's really going on between them. You know what I mean? Like, they're inseparable. They've always been that way. Like, sure, they have their own little arguments here and there, but it's just like, I don't know. I didn't get that one either. Like, I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, that's, or actually that was a 2014 feud. So, you know what? Sorry about even bringing it up. I just, wasn't really a fan of it. But anyways, there were a lot of bad feuds, but I want to talk about one of my favorite things, which was a new idea that was introduced in 2015 by John Cena after he won the U.S. Championship against Rusev at WrestleMania 31. He created the U.S. Open Challenge, where he would have a United States Championship match every single night, and he had some amazing matches. Whether it was up against Cesaro or Sami Zayn, or Kevin Owens, like, it was always money. But in my mind, let's go ahead and talk about the best United States Open Challenge match. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Seth Rollins. When Seth Rollins and John Cena had that match, it was on Raw. John Cena ended up winning. If you can't remember it, it was the match that John Cena completely broke his nose. His nose, it looked like it exploded, but Rollins pretty much kneed him in the face and broke his nose. That was the match where, like, Rollins introduced that superplex into another suplex move. Like, it was awesome. Rollins was flipping all over the place. Cena was hitting the five moves of dooms. It was great to watch. So in my mind, I think that the John Cena Seth Rollins was the best U.S. Open Challenge match. Brian, who are you going to go with on this one?
You know what? I'm going to agree with you all the way. Seth Rollins, John Cena. You don't get better than, obviously they learn how to take the clotheslines, the kicks. They try and, learn all those moves as best as possible to not get injured. But every now and then you have those moments where something goes wrong, something happens. And, John Cena's nose, it was bust up. Like, it got mutilated by Seth Rollins' knee. You
Uh
could
huh.
tell he was hurting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And putting on a good show for the fans, being able to work through an injury, being able to work through the pain, to give everybody what they want to see, and the injury just heightens that match to a level that just no other U.S. Open challenge in 2015 had. So yeah, you're right on the money there. That's mine as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And now let's go ahead and switch gears because I mean, we can talk about Cena and Rollins all day. Like their in-ring chemistry is phenomenal, and I hope we get to see, when they both get healthy. I hope we get to see another match between them two in the near future. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the most shocking moment in 2015. I think there's a lot that comes out, like there's Kevin Owens power bombing Machine Gun Kelly. There's Lesnar tapping out at SummerSlam, even though, the ref didn't see it, but still, Undertaker, tapped out. You can say Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank cash in at WrestleMania 31, but here's the one that I think people forget about, and this is the one that I'm going to pick. I think that it was when Paige used Reed Flair. For anyone that doesn't know who during the promo with Charlotte, about how, Charlotte was talking about how she's got a whole lot of fight in him, and then Paige looked at her and said, well, your brother Reed didn't, did he? Because pretty much Reed died in the hospital. He's fighting for his life and ended up dying, right? So I thought it was crazy. One, because the Divas were featured on a main event. You know what I mean? Like that's what closed out that show, that promo, and it just wasn't very PG at all. I think it had bad taste. Whenever you talk about the dead like that, I just think it has bad taste. You know what I mean? Like that's just a cheap way, to get heat. And I just think the WWE, should have went so many different angles. And the thing that was so shocking about it was that Ric Flair said he had absolutely no idea it was going to happen, and Ric Flair was bawling his eyes out. Like he talked about it in a podcast, which I thought was unbelievable. Like I thought they would give Flair the heads up, like, hey, we're going to bring up Reed. You know what I mean? Like, and it's terrible too because it wasn't that Paige wasn't the one that came up with it. Like that was in the script, which is just god awful on the WWE's behalf because whenever you bring up someone's dead son or dead brother, it's just terrible and it's in complete bad taste. But I thought it was shocking. Brian, what is your most shocking moment, man, of all 2015?
And of all 2015, the most shocking moment for me, I'm going to go to probably most recently the match. What was a four-way tag team title match with the Lucha Dragons, New Day, Usos, and I want to say there was one more team. Why
I
am I drawing a
think,
blank?
I think it might have been a triple
Or is,
threat.
or is it triple threat? That was it, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's triple threat.
Okay. So man, that to me was one of the best matches involving some tag teams that I've seen in a long time. The Usos coming back, I thought were great because they're electric in the ring. The New Day, of course, is awesome as the tag team champions. Lucha Dragons being in there. And the most shocking moment, man, is when you had Kalisto up on the top with the Uso, and he did his move on the back down onto the ladder.
Yeah, that one was pretty crazy.
Oh man, that to me, we haven't had a good tag team matches in a long time. So that one to me is my most shocking moment. Probably one of my favorite tag team matches
Yeah,
that went down in 2015.
yeah, like that ladder match reminded me back in the day when it was Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and 3D. Like I was like, this is great. Like, like that SDS through the ladder by Kalisto, like that will be forever, a video that gets shown when people are talking about ladder matches. Like everyone remember when Edge hit that spear on Jeff Hardy, but people are going to remember when he did the SDS. I think it was the Jay Uso. Like everyone's going to remember that. And I completely agree with Brian on that one. That one was definitely shocking. So let's go ahead, Brian, and talk about the worst moment of 2015. Some people would say Roman Reigns winning the Rumble. Some people can talk about all the injuries that happened, with Seth Rollins. Well, Cena wasn't hurt in 2015, but Cesaro, all the, you could bring up the injuries. But in my mind, I think the thing, or you could talk about Hulk Hogan, and his racism, or like the racism thing that went down, and how WWE had to cut ties with them so abruptly. But I think the worst thing that happened was the passing of Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes. I didn't see it coming. I don't think anyone saw it coming. They were all in good health, and unfortunately, they both passed away. I think it's kind of a thing that some fans still get emotional about because those are two guys that completely revolutionized the business. Like on the previous Unfiltered podcast, I said that Roddy Piper is the best wrestler to never win the WWE championship, and I talked about Dusty Rhodes and the polka dots. Like, we miss them both. Even though they're not wrestling, we just miss their presence. So I think that was the worst moment of 2015. Brian, what was the worst moment of 2015 for you?
Oh, let's see. You had to get all sentimental on me and go that route, didn't you? So
Yeah, I did.
definitely, definitely one of the worst decisions. You know what? I think one of the worst decisions in 2015, I want to say, has to do with how they use Bray Wyatt. And the reason I say that is Bray Wyatt has been spinning his wheels for so long. It feels like all of 2015 he was spinning his wheels. When they first brought his character out, it was so hot, it was so electric. You're like, all right, we got another evil presence that's coming in. We haven't had a dark character like that. It was only the Undertaker, and
Yeah.
you had Kane here and there, but for the longest time, the most memorable character like that has been the Undertaker. So when I first saw Bray Wyatt, I'm like, oh my god, I love this guy. The way he did his little videos and he had his
Yeah.
little lantern come out and he blows it out and it's all dark. Like, to me, that was the best. And then all of a sudden, it feels like everything he's getting into, he starts these beefs. Like, you're like, all right, here we go. And then he just gets his butt kicked every time.
Yeah, and he's just become. I think with the booking about how much they've had him lose, I think he's going to be forever stuck at the mid card. That's just at least what I think. I mean, do you think he's going to be stuck at the mid card for quite some time?
Yeah, I think he's going to be stuck at the mid card for sure. And what's sad is, you got to transition over to, it's like, it's he's so much better than this person I'm going to bring up, which name is Bo Dallas. But it feels like they're going to have the same career, and Bray Wyatt has such an awesome character.
Yeah, and little known fact. Did you know? It's kind of crazy that you brought it up. That Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt are brothers. Did you know that?
I knew you were gonna say that. They're definitely brothers. Yep.
Yeah. So
And
for
it's so crazy when you look at him. You're like, what the heck? But I think if you put that awesome beard on Bo Dallas, you would see it.
Yeah, and another thing too, that people are just like, wait, what? Like the IRS man, if anyone remembers, the Attitude Era, that is the father of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. So it's crazy. You have three completely different characters, and it's funny because like usually, in the business, you usually have them follow in their father's footsteps. Like look at Charlotte; she's kind of like the female version of Ric Flair. When Ted DiBiase Jr. ended up debuting, he was exactly like his dad. He was doing the whole money thing, and like usually that's the route they go. But Bo Dallas is doing the whole entire inspirational Bo Leaf thing, and Bray Wyatt's being that dark presence. So it's kind of crazy, but I kind of like that. Like I always respect guys like Randy Orton that don't do anything that their dad did. Like Randy Orton didn't try to be a cowboy; he ended up becoming the Legend Killer and then evolving into the Viper. Like I always respect those guys a lot more. That's at least with me because it just shows their creativity and how innovative they can be, and I just always like that because no one wants to see a 2.0 of their dad or something like that. Like it's already been done. It's just unoriginal. Like that's just pretty much like eating the same exact food every single day. Like you're eventually gonna get sick of it. That's just at least
Exactly.
how I feel about it. So let's go ahead and talk about the best moment of 2015. There were a lot of cool moments, especially at WrestleMania 31. You got to see the NWO and DX finally get in the same ring at the same time. You got to see some great bouts between Lesnar and Taker, like I said. But in my mind, the one moment that steps up and that gets into my mind was Seth Rollins cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the middle of the Lesnar Reigns match for the title. The reason why I say this is because after Rollins won, I was like, it's official. The WWE is investing in the future. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to start pushing all these young talents, which they are. They're setting them up in the long run, you know. And that having Seth Rollins remain champion even throughout the low ratings was a great move by McMahon. I'm glad that they stuck with him and they didn't freak out and take off the belt off of his shoulder. But I love that moment. I think it's honestly the number one cash in of all time. No one's ever done it at WrestleMania. And, you know, every single wrestler has that it moment where they officially become a superstar. Stone Cold's was Austin 316. CM Punk's was the pipe bomb. John Cena's was when he beat JBL. You know, and I think Seth Rollins' moment where officially became the number one guy, when he officially became a star, was when he cashed in that briefcase and won the championship. So that's my 2 cents on that. Brian, what's the best moment for you?
Yeah, I think your best moment piggybacks off what I think is my best moment, which was the match with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. I love that match. I think it was like one of the more physical matches that I saw in 2015, especially pay per view wise. Uh, Man, Roman Reigns getting tossed all over the place in the beginning of that match, mainly through the whole match, going to Suplex City so many times, both of them getting busted up, and the classic little Roman Reigns smirk after he went through all that torture,
Yeah.
and then being so close to achieving his goal at that time, even though they've took it away from him so many times. But that match right there is probably my best moment. It even made it even that much sweeter when Seth Rollins cashed in the Money in the Bank. I think that was an excellent time for them to use that Money in the Bank, and to catapult his storyline and everything like that. So, but that match for me was my best moment. I love that match.
All right, yeah, I agree with you, man. But let's go ahead and talk about the creative team. We'll do the worst and then we'll do the best. But first, let's do the worst. Let's get with the bad news over with first. So I think the worst WWE creative decision of 2015 was the complete mishandling of Cesaro. They had their chance to push him. They really, really did after Rollins' injury, but that got canceled because he got hurt. But he's still on the show, and they could have got him to the finals or something like that to give him a push, but they just refused to. Cesaro has it all. I think the only really thing he lacks is talking, just because you can tell with that thick accent sometimes it's hard to understand him. But he's the best athlete. He's pound for pound the strongest guy in the entire roster. But for some reason, Vince McMahon just refuses to pull the to put the plug in for Cesaro, because you got the Cesaro section wherever you go, and Cesaro is easily one of the best pure wrestlers on the roster. But for some reason, the WWE, just every single year, they mishandle it. So let's just hope, because I read something online that Cesaro's at the WWE Development Center. Like, he's, wrestling again. He's in the ring again. He's rehabbing, and he's nearing a return, which is great. But I just really want to see Cesaro get the proper booking that he deserves. So, Brian, what about you? Worst creative decision by the WWE of 2015?
Let's see. Worst creative decision for me.
Like, I know it's definitely a tough one. Like, some things
It's
that,
tough. Yeah.
because they're like, you could talk about the Sheamus thing, or the whole entire them not even putting Daniel Bryan in the Royal Rumble match, or something like that. Like, you can talk about. Is there any that comes to mind, or no?
Yeah, I think one of the. You know what? I'm going to go to probably in the Divas division. The
Okay.
worst creative decision that I think they did is, and I like her as a wrestler. When I watch her in the ring, though, I think she could have stayed in NXT a little longer to get her her ring presence and all that kind of stuff down. Because some of her moves look a little stiff. She just looks a little just like a little stiff in the ring, and
Yeah.
that's Becky Lynch. I think when they all came out with that thing, I think they only should have brought up Charlotte and Sasha Banks
Absolutely.
to me. So bringing up and starting that whole thing, I know why they did it because they had the three groups that came up together so they could do that whole diva thing. They
Yeah.
had the Bella twins and all that kind of stuff going on. But I think they really just needed to pull up Charlotte and Sasha Banks, and that would have been the best move for the diva division. But bringing up Becky Lynch and going through that whole thing, I just thought that was a creative mistake that they had.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like, here's the thing. Like, I mean, Becky Lynch is great and all, but I mean, like, you can tell she's still developing. Like, she hasn't hit her ceiling yet. You know, like Charlotte and Sasha Banks, they're there. Like, they were superstars the second NXT started getting popular. Like, those were the two like original divas. And I mean, honestly, I would have rather have seen Bailey get called up over Becky Lynch because Bailey is so over with that crowd. In my mind, she's the number one face in all the WWE. Why? Because she has adults cheering for her and the kids cheering for her. Like literally, I don't think there's one Bailey hater out there. But anyways, as we're talking about, how we can make it better, let's talk about the best WWE creative decision. The one that like really sticks out in my mind is just the entire NXT program. It's completely taken off, and they've really done a great job building stars and Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Bailey. I'm not a big fan of them, but Baron Corbin. They've done a very, very good job. Like Triple H has put his stamp on it, and Triple H has done a phenomenal job, which just gives me hope because when Vince McMahon passes, we all know that Triple H is going to be making all the major creative decisions. And, he's showing that he can make NXT developmental guys look like professionals. So just imagine what he can do when he has an entire 3 hour show in his hands. So in my mind, I tip my hat off to the creative team when it involves NXT. Brian, what was something that stood out to you that the creative team did a good job in doing?
Best thing that I think happened with the creative team, I want to go back to your boy Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank and winning the title.
All right.
I think pushing his career forward. I think at the time, everybody hated Seth Rollins, but as it kept on going throughout the year, he kept on getting in all these matches, doing all these matches, and you just saw the move set coming out in Seth Rollins. Like all of a sudden, you started seeing his high flying moves, you started seeing his power moves, you started to see him develop, almost night after night into what I think was definitely needed at the time for the WWE Championship. So I think that was the best creative decision to catapult him forward. Even though everybody hated him at the time, I know you and I didn't. I thought he was the best man for the job.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I did too.
I think he plays that character very well. He comes out there. It almost feels like that's how he acts in real life, even though I've seen tons of interviews with him outside. He's not that kind of guy at
Yeah.
all. But he just plays it so well, and that was the best creative move because he was the guy for the job.
Oh, absolutely. He was 110% the perfect champion that the WWE needed. So while we're in the process of talking about the best, what was, in your mind, the best main roster return of 2015? I mean, you can bring up, the Dead Man Undertaker. You can bring up, Brock Lesnar returning all the time. You can bring up the Dudley Boys. You can bring up Alberto Del Rio. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Sting. Now, let me tell you why. People are like, oh, Blake, he's old and all that. But, I think the whole entire, build up for WrestleMania 31, I think he helped make that show what it was with the whole entire Sting Triple H feud. But the thing that I really, really liked the most of him was the entire feud with Seth Rollins when they were unveiling his statue and then bam, out comes Sting. Like, I was shocked that Sting was behind the curtain. Like, I was reading the spoilers and I knew Sting was there, but I wasn't expecting him to be behind the curtain. Like, I had expected him to come out with his baseball bat, beat down everyone and then beat the crap out of Seth Rollins' statue and him and then challenge him. But the way they did it, I was so surprised by it. And honestly, that was the most memorable return for me just because, like, I marked out when it happened completely. Like, I was watching it with my dad and I was like, oh my God, like, holy crap, like, that's Sting. Like, no way. Like, I loved every single second of it. And, usually Night of Champions, like, yeah, every belt's up, but usually that's where, like, they kind of struggle at Night of Champions. But I don't know. I just love seeing Seth Rollins and Sting going back and forth, and I'm glad that they did like the Joker Sting of TNA. Like I kind of like that they did that, like the Joker Heath Ledger type of Sting. It was so entertaining, the mind games and all of it. I loved it, and unfortunately, Sting's career's over. He hurt his neck at Night of Champions against Rollins when he was taking a buckle power bomb. But a lot of people are probably going to be like, "Why are you so high on Seth Rollins? All he does is injures people. You know, he broke John Cena's nose and he broke Sting's neck. Like, no, you guys need to chill on that because Sting in an interview with Ric Flair on the Ric Flair Woo podcast, he said that Seth Rollins is the best wrestler that he's ever wrestled against. Like, just think about how big of a compliment that is. Like, think of what Sting has done in his career. He's battled the likes of Ric Flair, Triple H, Goldberg. Like, he's done it all. Everyone in WCW and all those legends, Hulk Hogan. Like he's done it all. But he's saying that Rollins is the best. Like, that's a huge compliment. So, Brian, all that being said, who is your best main roster return to 2015, man?
Best roster return. I'm gonna have. He's out right now, but he's made a couple returns back and forth here, being off injury. And I miss him right now a ton. I'm gonna say Randy Orton.
Okay.
Man, Randy Orton. Uh, Probably the best match I remember was him and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Oh my God, when he hit that RKO, pushing Seth Rollins off his back.
That was amazing.
Seth Rollins got so much air on that and come down into the RKO.
Yeah, that was probably the best spot of 2015 in my mind.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then unfortunately, he's been hurt here and there. Tried to come back, got hurt again. But yeah, I mean, anytime that you can have Randy Orton on the roster, a healthy Randy Orton, you're going to get some awesome matches out of him. Again, another guy that I think he's true to his character. He plays it so well. You can see it when he's in the ring, when he gets down in Viper mode. The crowd just explodes. So I love it when he's on the roster. I love it when he's competing. And definitely going to be much missed right now. So hoping he heals up pretty quick and gets back in there.
Yeah, and some news on Randy Orton. A lot of people said that he needed neck surgery. Well, Randy Orton has come out and said that he does not need neck surgery. So chances are we probably won't see him at WrestleMania, but this summer we will most likely see Randy Orton. He had to have shoulder surgery. It seems like everyone's hurting their shoulder. John Cena, Cesaro, Randy Orton, that's been like the popular injury this year. But anyways, we're looking forward to seeing the Viper back. But we talked about all the losses, the roster has had with all the injuries. Let's talk about the best addition, like the best call up. And in my mind, I don't even think there's an argument in this one. I'm saying Kevin Owens. He's got it all. He reminds me of a fatter version of CM Punk. He's a great wrestler. He's a great talker, a great brawler. Kevin Owens is what's best for business. And in my mind, he's my pick to win the Money in the Bank briefcase this summer. And, hopefully they keep on pushing him the right way. But I think Kevin Owens is easily the best addition to the roster in 2015. Brian, what do you think, man?
Yeah, definitely a great one. Kevin Owens, of course, is the I think the highlight of the call ups. I'm going to also go out and say Sasha Banks is going to be another great call up. I know she's hurt right now, but she's going to make huge impact for the Diva division. But outside of that, this wasn't a call up. They kind of just formed them together. I want to throw these out there for kind of grouping people together the best, and that's the New Day.
Yes, the New Day's awesome.
Oh man, it's such an awesome idea of a tag team, even though it's three guys.
Oh, absolutely.
But they play it so well that it's their championship, all three of them, and Xavier Woods cracks me up with that trumpet and their in-ring presence, their commentary on the mic. I think that was definitely much needed for the tag team division.
Yeah, and I don't know, they're entertaining. All the things they say, whenever they're on television, I always turn it up because I know it's about to be funny as shit. And I don't think it gets much better than the New Day. Honestly, they exceeded my expectations when they first got together. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. But then, once they started going and they started getting some chemistry, I was like, this is great. I was like, this is phenomenal. I honestly hope the New Day never breaks up. I hope they are together forever. I think they had like their 1 year anniversary not too long ago. Like it's great. Like I'm so
Hmm.
glad that they're still together, and I hope they're together for the rest of their careers. Like I hope, I
Oh,
cross my fingers. I know it probably won't happen, but I hope they keep this going for a very, very long time.
yeah, definitely. I hope they keep it going. They'll have their flashes here of like one-on-ones. Of course, they'll be in the Royal Rumble. Kofi Kingston will pull up something crazy to get back in the ring. But yeah, without the New Day right now, I wouldn't have it stuck in my head because of Chris Jericho, Rudy Tooty Booty. That's all I've
Yeah,
been thinking about since that happened. They're just freaking hilarious. And then to see Big E get so worked up when he's out there,
yeah. Like I never knew.
oh my god,
Yeah, like I never knew Big E actually had any charisma whatsoever. I just thought he was just some big muscle guy, but he's actually hilarious.
it's hilarious. We're not no Rudy Tooty Booties.
Yeah, and the thing. Okay, I want to talk about the guy that called him the Rudy Tooty Booties, Y2J Chris Jericho. Okay, like I was glad to see him back on my TV. Like, don't get me wrong, but that vest, like, and his belly hanging out, I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, how? Like, I mean, I don't know if it's being on the road and traveling with your band Fozzy and drinking all those beers, but he looks like he's at least like 4 or 5 months pregnant. Like, I don't understand what happened to Chris Jericho. Like, I'm just like, what
Yeah.
the? I'm like, what the hell is that? Kevin Owens or Chris Jericho? Like, I can't tell. Like, and it just I don't know. It just makes me so bad. I mean, like, yeah, he's getting older, but still, I just don't understand where it came out and why are you wearing a belly shirt? I mean, I know it wasn't meant to be a belly shirt, but still, it's just like we need to get some sit ups and like some P90X in Jericho's life like immediately because like
Oh yeah.
it just looks depressing because like I remember the Chris Jericho that had the 6 pack abs and the long hair and like now like it's funny because they had a program. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, but now he's kind of reminding me of him. He's just that old guy that can't hang up the boots. And don't get me wrong, I like Chris Jericho, but like he's just not in like ring condition. You know what I mean? Like he's one of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots, but like right now, he just doesn't look like a professional wrestler. He looks like a usual 40-year-old dad.
Oh yeah. I mean, and here's the thing: they're taking the persona of Chris Jericho when he was Y2J back in the day, and they're trying to bring the same guy forward today. You know, the ladies' man. He would have wore that vest and been rocking it and had the abs and everything like that. But now you're exactly right. You're like, man, why is Kevin Owens wearing that vest?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like they should have had him in something different. Like put a T-shirt on underneath that thing.
Yeah. Or wear a
That
dress
would have been a
shirt.
lot better.
Like
And
I've never
I'm
yeah.
surprised the New Day didn't take a rip at that.
Yeah, like I don't understand like the whole entire like okay, don't get me wrong, I love seeing them go back and forth. Like I even called him a trap queen, which I thought was pretty funny. But like the thing is like I don't like since when is it a fashion statement to not wear anything underneath like a button up vest? Like that was like a vest that goes with a 3-piece suit. Like I don't understand that. I'm just like, Chris, like what are you wearing? Like like out of all the things, like the light up jacket's sweet. I like it, but the freaking vest, like it's just oh, it's awful. It's awful. And
Yeah, horrible, horrible wardrobe choice.
yeah, and he just looks very, just disappointing and that actually brings up something when I say the word disappointing. All right. So enough about, Chris Jericho's belly. Let's talk about something else that's disappointing. Let's talk about the most disappointing superstar of 2015. I think there's a lot to bring up, but in my mind, the one that pops up is the man who has become the biggest bitch of World Wrestling Entertainment, and his name is Rusev. He was dominant going into WrestleMania, but ever since he lost to John Cena, his career has just been deteriorating. He looks as weak as ever. He's no longer intimidating. Like when Rusev used to come out, I was like, holy shit, like this guy means business. Like he's gonna kill it. And like I kind of like the whole entire like Rocky Four build up. You know what I mean? Like I kind of reminded me of like Rocky Balboa versus Drago, and like Rocky Balboa was John Cena, and Drago was Rusev. I don't. You're a Rocky fan. You might see the resemblance in the build of the fight,
Hmm.
but like I was so excited about it. And then when Rusev lost, I was like, okay, it's okay. He needed to get the U.S. title off of him. Like let's push him to the main event. But then they just completely dropped it. You know what I mean? Like they got him involved in some love thing, and like he kept on crying and he kept on losing, and I was like, this is terrible. And in my mind, I think 2015 murdered Rusev's career. I think his career is over. I don't think he'll ever be able to recover from it. Brian, who do you think is the most disappointing superstar of 2015?
For me, by far, most disappointing wrestler in 2015 is gonna have to be the Big Show.
All right.
He just, there's just nothing there anymore. There's nothing dominant about the Big Show. He even talks on the mic. He starts stuttering. The crowd's making fun of him.
Yeah.
They're just booing him all the time. He had the Andre the Giant thing. Kudos to them for letting him win that and get one last in, but you got to know when it's time to go, and it's his time. I just feel bad for him every time he comes out. That's all I feel now. Just bad.
And it's just obvious because it's terrible. Because the crowd hates you and they want you to go. You're a bad wrestler when they're chanting "Please retire" at you.
Right.
Like that. It's just please, Big Show. You're a future WWE Hall of Famer. You've had a very, very prestigious career, but ever since 2006, you're god awful. So it's time. It's time to go, Big Show. It's time to go, Big Show. If you're listening, please retire. Which you probably aren't listening, but still, you're probably too busy, putting on piss poor matches and, dealing with your speech impediment. So, anyways, let's go ahead and switch it up. Let's go on a higher note to end the show. So, pretty much, let's go with the WWE or NXT Diva of the Year. So, out of everyone that is signed to a WWE contract, who's had the best year? And easily, I think that woman's name is Bayley. Like I said, she's the number one face in WWE. Why? Because everyone literally loves her. She's a fantastic wrestler. She reminds me of the female version of Daniel Bryan. And, with her wrestling ability and how everyone loves her. So easily, in my mind, no doubts whatsoever, unanimously in my mind, I'm taking Bayley. What about you, Brian?
Well, Blake goes NXT. I like that call. I like Bayley a lot. I'm going to take us into the WWE, and I'm going to go, of course, Roman Reigns. Like you said, he wins the Royal Rumble. He's booed out of the freaking stadium. And if you turn it on today, once Roman Reigns' music drops, every fan's going crazy, every kid's going crazy. You want to be in that aisle where he comes down and fist bumps you. Turned into just a huge career for him, from going to the worst hated person in probably the WWE to the guy who's on top and the man that everybody wants to see now. Everybody wants him to start the show. Everybody wants to see him in a match. So, yeah, Roman Reigns for me.
All right, so there we go. So for the WWE Superstar of the Year, I went with Bayley, and he went with Roman Reigns. But if I had to name a male that had a good year, I'm going with Seth Rollins. I think he stole the show every single time he was on there, and it sucks that, he hurt that knee. So we're going to end with the match of the year. That's what we're going to end with. There was a lot of good matches in my mind this year. You go Cena, Owens, you could go Reigns, Lesnar, but I'm going to go with Seth Rollins versus John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. That match stole the show. I can still rewatch it today. Seth Rollins doing all those jumps. All three men offered something different, to this one, and that's what made it great. Usually triple threat matches suck, but in my mind, I'm going Rollins versus Cena versus Lesnar in the triple threat match. That one was a tough one for me to come up with. I was thinking about doing the NXT the NXT live event, The Beast in the East, between Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. Actually, no, the one in Brooklyn with the ladder match. That's the one I was thinking about, but I've decided to go. You know what? No, actually, I'm going to completely change my mind. 110%. I'm going to go with the night after TLC, Roman Reigns versus Sheamus, and if Roman Reigns lose, he was fired, but he ended up Superman punching Vince McMahon, and then Superman punching Sheamus and hitting him with a spear out of nowhere to win. So in my mind, that was the best match of the year, and it came towards the end of the year, so I'm going Roman Reigns versus Sheamus, the night where Roman Reigns won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Sorry about the confusion, listeners. Brian, what about you, man?
All right, so Blake threw out two. We're just going to count that as two, Blake. You don't have to change your mind.
Yeah, we'll count it as like a tie.
we'll give you both of them. Best match of the year for me. Like I said, I already mentioned it once, so I'm gonna pick a different one just so I can not do the same thing. But that tag team, triple threat tag team match, we talked about it earlier. That to me was so electric. But if I have to go, I want to pick another one, and that match that I'm gonna go with is going to be. You know what? I like. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for the Beast in the East, and I'm gonna say Kevin Owens and Finn Balor.
All right.
When Finn Balor took over for the NXT Championship, that match was crazy. Being in Japan for Finn Balor, just man, there was so much good highlights in there. There were so many moves. It was so intense. It was so back and forth. Like you didn't know which way it was gonna go. And yeah, to me that was like I was on the edge of my seat watching that match. It was so good.
All right. Awesome. See, I agree with them. That one was a solid match too. So, guys, that pretty much wraps it up for the 2015 year in review. Definitely a very, very interesting year that unfortunately was overshadowed and plagued by all the injuries in the WWE. So, Brian, anything you want to leave the fans and listeners with?
Definitely, as always, love the fans, love the listeners. Keep on supporting us. Stay tuned. We got a bunch of awesome stuff coming up. Teddy Long, Jake the Snake, the Boogeyman. Got a couple more in the works that we're gonna try and get confirmed, and we're definitely gonna shoot for even more throughout the year. So yeah, we appreciate you guys
Yeah,
having our
absolutely.
back. We're gonna bring you more and more stuff. We're gonna reach out to you guys more and more, get some questions, get to know everybody on the show. I think that's very fun for us to do. So yeah, just more to come from BSSN in 2016.
Absolutely. And guys, Brian pretty much, he promoted the things that I was going to promote. So pretty much I'm just going to tell you guys our schedule for any first time listeners. And just a heads up, we are now, our new home is YouTube. And if you really, really like this podcast and you want to hear all of our other podcasts, they're on our website, which is bssn.weebly.com. I will leave that in the link in the bio of this video. Also hit us up on Twitter, BSSN_sports. Hit us up with the follow. We'll follow you back and we can talk more. And also another thing that I would like to bring up is just, keep up the support, guys. And if you want to buy some merchandise too, check out the website. We got some hats, we got beanies, we got t-shirts, we got it all. We got hoodies. I can go on for days about all the merchandise. We got some sweet things in store, guys. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And be sure to comment and tell us how we did. Like I said, YouTube is now the new official home of BSSN. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.